the grocery list that updated at 3:14 am. The list dinged while I was asleep. At 3:14 a.m., my phone vibrated on the nightstand with that polite nudge Apple reserves for domestic life. Shared note updated groceries. I would have ignored it. Our grocery list updates itself like a needy plant, except my wife was asleep beside me, breathing evenly into the pillow she insists on flipping to the cool side. The screen showed a single line, strawberries checked off. In gray below it, edited by unknown. Unknown in our house is not a person, it's a dare. I lay still long enough to map the dark. The fridge sighed. A truck on the avenue dragged its blank roar past us. Lena murmured something I couldn't catch and turned toward me, hair across her mouth like a curtain. The list pinged again. Basil, checked, unknown. We were out of basil. I knew this intimately. I'd scraped the last leaves into a pan the night before while the pasta waited like a witness. I opened the note with that guilty slow-motion thumb people use when they've already decided to be bad. Our list is decades simple. Milk, eggs, the brand of coffee we pretend not to be snobs about. But at the bottom, under the solid married items, a new section had appeared, a bullet list outside the bullets. The first line said, Room 408. The second said, Push the door first, lock sticks. The third, in the pale strike-through that means someone thought better of it, Blue jacket, no ring. I closed my eyes like that could make pixels forget. I opened them. The line unstruck itself, no longer coy. Another item slid into the list. Ice. Unknown checked it off. Our list is only shared between the two of us. That's the sort of sentence that used to feel like furniture, solid, inevitable, unsuspicious. Now it felt like a hinge. At breakfast, Lena tightened her ponytail with the elastic she keeps on her wrist for emergencies and lit the stove with the calm of a person whose day expects her. She wore the work sweater too soft to be respectable. Big install, she said. Sponsors coming to preview the wall. I'll be late. Sponsor, I repeated, because repetition has always been my cheapest form of courage. She poured coffee into our two chipped mugs. He's one of those good men who thinks good is a personality, she said. I'll charm him out of micromanaging my lighting and then make faces at the wall when he tries to give feedback in nouns. I could have said, unknown added strawberries at 3:14 a.m. and watched her face track the exact length of a lie. Instead I said, we're out of basil, and smiled in a way I hoped looked like muscle memory. She kissed me with that quick, practiced tenderness we've earned. In the reflection on the microwave's black glass, we looked like actors who trust their marks. I'm a compositor for a small post house that lives above a pho shop and a store that only sells lamps. My days are a parade of layers. Sky behind building, light behind sky, meaning behind light. I blend edges until a frame looks like the world meant to be this way. You shouldn't let people like me into your personal life. We don't turn it off. On my lunch break, I opened the note again and scrolled as if somewhere down there the truth would be mislabeled as common. Room 408 remained. Ice stayed boastfully checked. A new line had blossomed and died and blossomed again in the edit history. Late checkout. It had been unasked, then asked, then apparently answered somewhere other than where words leave fingerprints. Notes knows who unknown is if you force it. I tapped the shared with icon and waited for the little heads to line up. Ours were there, Lena and me, plus a new gray bubble. A Gmail address with the kind of vanity username that suggests a man believes in his shoulders. Initials RK. The small info card said we shared two notes. The other was houseplants, which hurt oddly. I read houseplants like it owed me money. It held the Latin names of 4 plants we always forget to water and the note move monstra away from heater, in a tone that sounded like me. At the bottom, someone had added, bring the tall one to studio, looks dramatic. It was unchecked. It was also signed invisibly by unknown. At 4:03 p.m., the grocery list updated again. Sparklers, with a tiny star emoji that didn't belong to Lena's vocabulary. I stared at the ceiling of the edit history and tried to decide which part of me would go looking, and which part would sit very still until a thing became a memory. The first part won. The hotel was 4 blocks from Lena's studio, the kind of square brick that gets called historic when no one wants to detail how many bad decisions it's hosted. The lobby was all velvet and indifference. Behind a shiny front desk, a young man wore a tie like a promise. "Can I help you?" he asked, and if his voice was a little too kind, I forgive him. My face has always worn whatever it's thinking. "Room 408, I said. I don't know why. I thought maybe my mouth knew a trick I didn't. He looked at the screen with practiced politeness. Then he looked at me. "You can leave a message," he said. "Tell them the door sticks," I said, and he blinked at my joke and typed something like he'd be disappointed if the day didn't give him a better one. I didn't knock at 408. I walked past it twice, once slow, once slower, hearing nothing on purpose. The ice machine down the hall made its small industrial waterfall. I pictured sparklers wielded indoors and the fire alarm's bored shriek. I left the building feeling heroic and ridiculous, which is, I'm learning, the price of staying married and curious. On the way home, I texted Lena, "Do we need anything?" She replied, "Basil," and 4 minutes later, "Strawberries." I put both in a bag like proof and practiced phrases on the long block. By the time I reached our door, I'd settled on something conservative. Our grocery list has a third collaborator. She was barefoot on the counter stool, laptop open, hair down in that soft way that makes sound change its frequency around her. "Oh," she said, "Rylan." Of course it was RY, I asked. "The sponsor," she said. He asked me for a mood board link, and I dumped a bundle of references into the fastest thing I had. I forgot the plant list was shared to the same group. Then he added himself to groceries by accident because Apple knows how to make bad choices look like features. "Room 408, I said, and the words landed on the counter between us like sharp fruit. She closed the laptop the way you close a book that has become impolite. "We met there once," she said, "in the lobby, with other people. He talks like a man who thinks he's a generous listener, which is worse than a bad talker. He thinks rooms fall in love with him. I told him to stop trying to rename my plants." "And last night," I said, "at 3:14 a.m. you needed strawberries." She set her palms on the counter. "There's the version where I tell you the streetlight hit my face perfectly and I wanted to see what my skin did under it. There's the one where I say I couldn't sleep and the list is a fidget toy. There's the one where I admit I like the feeling of moving something with a stranger watching when nothing else was moving." She looked at me like an adult. "I did not go to that hotel. I wanted to want to. I wanted to try the wanting on like a jacket." I put it back. "Blue jacket, no ring," I said, because some injuries enjoy nomming their weapons. "I wrote that the first day he walked in," she said, "so I'd remember to teach myself not to be flattered by the easiest trick." We stood inside a pause that would have read as choreography if anyone else were looking. Then she came around the counter and set her fingers at the back of my neck in the place she owns. "Ask me if I kissed him," she said. "Did you?" I said. "No," she said. "I wrote a message I didn't send. Then I stopped writing to him entirely and left a whole door unlocked in a note so the universe could decide whether to embarrass me or not." "It did," I said. "It picked me as the delivery guy." Her face broke open into the laugh I married her for, the one that saves you just before you decide to be dramatic forever. "I'm sorry," she said, "for editing the world instead of handling it." We ate strawberries with basil and neon grocery store mozzarella. We smiled at each other with the kind of effort that is not fake, it's expensive. When she touched my thigh under the table, I let the touch arrive with the authority it deserved. We went to bed like people who had negotiated a treaty and were curious about its language. She pulled me by the belt, not choreographed, just practical, and I went. We kissed like a recursion, past and now and almost all at once. Heat came on as if it had been listening for its cue in the dark all day. We were careful because we'd burned the edge already. We were greedy because we still know what we are when we stop performing. When she said my name, it was a place to stand. We stopped while it still sounded like that. In the morning, the grocery list read like a list again. Unknown had disappeared. I opened the share settings and removed the Gmail with the little surgical satisfaction of dragging a file to trash. A minute later, a new message popped into our general studio inbox. "Apologies for last night's confusion," Rylan had written to the project thread. "Removing myself from extraneous materials. Excited to see the preview." I forwarded it to Lena with no body text. She replied with a photo of our monstera, its big split leaf catching the sun like a hand saying, "Enough." We decided a rule: no work people in domestic documents, no domestic language in workrooms. If we need a new space to be weird in, we make it and name it weird, not groceries. We also invented a word, strawberry, to mean I want attention, not because I'm starving, but because someone else offered a sample on a toothpick. It was stupid. It worked. Then the list dinged at 1:11 a.m. the next night. "Whipped cream," it said, "unknown." I sat up so fast I frightened the cat we don't have. Lena's phone face down on the dresser lit, then slept. The apartment had that midnight tautness that makes pipes sound like gossip. I opened the details and saw that unknown was not the Gmail this time. It was a call number I recognized because I'd seen it printed on a chalkboard behind the bar of a place near the studio. Order by text, pick up curbside. I checked the edit history and saw the number had piggybacked on a public link we'd made months ago to share the list with her mother for a holiday menu, and never unshared. Someone at the bar had pasted the wrong number into the wrong task, and the universe had delivered it to my side like a cruel joke. I woke Lena anyway. I wanted to watch her face process it in real time. I wanted proof this room didn't have a trapdoor. She squinted, read, swore into the blanket, and then laughed, sleepy, relieved at the relief. She rolled onto me, and because life refuses neat bows, we did both things, laughed and then made out like teenagers who had negotiated a contract with mercy. It was ridiculous and excellent. The list pinged again while her mouth was on my throat. We ignored it. In the morning, the bar had texted, "Sorry for the ping, wrong list. Have a good night, folks." I heart-reacted like a complicated adult and moved on. Later that week, the preview went well. Lena came home with exhaustion and triumph on her shoulders. We sat on the floor and ate takeout dumplings and made a mess neither of us apologized for. She told me how the sponsor had kept calling the installation immersive, like a benediction, until she asked him to please use fewer adjectives and more checks. I told her about a director who wanted sunbeams to look like regret. We argued about the Latin name for our plant without reaching for our phones. When she finished a dumpling, she leaned into me so that our shoulders clicked. "Strawberry," she said, testing the dumb magic word. "Kitchen or rug?" I said. "Rug," she said. We went to the rug. We kept making ordinary rules because they help. We stopped pretending the night is a sacred object and started treating it like a tool. When one of us wants weather, we say thunder. When one of us wants silence, we say library. Sometimes thunder and library happen in the same hour. Sometimes they do not. I saw Rylan once at the install during breakdown. He had his sleeves rolled to the exact length that tells you a man ironed them. He said, "It sings," as if sound had been waiting for him to anoint it. "It sings because she tuned it," I said. He looked at me like a person seeing an exit he could respect and took it. If you've never watched a man practice leaving well, I recommend it. You might need the example later. Months slid. The grocery list returned to its hum, protected and boring. Twice a week it learns we're out of coffee and performs concern. We reward it with the good beans. Once it told me we needed olive oil, fancy, and I brought back a bottle that made us both laugh because oil shouldn't brag. Sometimes at 2 a.m., when sleep is a door we can't find, Lena unlocks her phone and adds something obscene and deletes it again and waits to see if I'll notice. I always do. We practice, in our little house, the difficult art of asking for what we intend to get. There's still a line at the bottom of the list, room 408. We never deleted it. We turned it into a joke, then a tool. When one of us is tempted to wander into a version of ourselves that would rather rehearse than perform, we text 408, and the other replies with a location that belongs to us, home. We've learned the power of labeling a door correctly. Last week we took the Monstra to her studio for a day because a prop stylist canceled. We strapped it into the back seat like a child and laughed at ourselves the entire drive. When we brought it home, its biggest leaf had a tear from a doorframe to the midrib. Lena touched it the way you touch a friend's bruised shin, tender, proud. "We'll water you," she said. "You still look dramatic." Sometimes late, the note app opens under my thumb like a habit that wants to be a sin. I scroll and the list is still the list. Milk, eggs, basil. Underneath, in a section we didn't mean to create, one item, strawberries, unchecked now on purpose. Every few days, one of us taps it, the other watches. We don't ask whether it was a text to a bar or a midnight flirt with gravity's wrong ideas. We accept the small confession. We eat the berries, we keep a plant alive. We give the night fewer chances to make stupid offers. We say yes to the ones we can live with. We fix the light and we kiss in it. If you're hopping, I threw the list into the sea or changed every password to a sentence that proves something. I'm sorry. I want a life I recognize. I want a room where a grocery list can be a grocery list again, and where thunder is not a code word but a thing we invite in and listen to until it passes, leaving the air honest behind it. Lena taps my wrist twice when she walks past me in the kitchen, a habit that started the week we became brave enough to be boring together. I tap hers back. We buy basil like optimists. We use all of it. We write ice on the list only when we plan to sweat on our own rug. We try to be difficult to leave. And when the list pings at odd hours, we let it be what it is, a machine trying to be helpful while we do the harder thing, be human on purpose with our names in this house.